continuing our series on the art and science of change and transformation. So last time we did a recap of reality is a function of software, and really the predictions, the meanings we create around the data points of our life, the resulting equations that form over time as to how we think, how we talk, how we operate. And when we change these equations, change the meanings, and change the predictions that we're making about future outcomes, everything changes. This is this act of changing the software, upgrading the software. And we also challenge some old beliefs, old notions around change and transformation. The fact that a lot of people view change as hard, change as a process, and really, when we look at successful people, they're not even thinking about it as change, much like the unlimited raw version, 4-year-old version of you. You didn't contemplate, change from your tricycle to your two-wheeler being hard. You just wanted to ride the two-wheeler like all the other kids. You want what you want. So change isn't even a frame. You're just focused on what you want. So tonight we're going to go deeper into some of that, some tools for managing, dealing with, overcoming the inevitable challenges that come with making changes. So I want to start off by talking about habits, because most of this, when we're talking about software and programs, they're really just habits. They're neural bundles that have been wired over time, and they're really, habits are nothing more than a groove in the record, right? It's just been played over and over again. The same holds true. It's a great metaphor for neural bundles, because the more that connections are established and reinforced over time, neurons connect and get wired together and create truths. It creates our beliefs and our thought patterns, and it wires it as that it can't be broken. This is another reason why change can feel so hard, because we're battling ways of thinking, ways of doing things that have been in place for a long time. And so, the question is, if it's wired in, if neural bundles are strengthened over time, can it be wired out? Can these connections be broken? Well, ish. Yes, in some sense we are breaking old connections, but we're not really focused on wiring out or uninstalling or deleting old software. That's really not the focus of this work. It's more so wiring over. So installing new habits, installing new software. And so that's, similar to or equivalent to wiring out. And so how do we do that? How do we install new habits? How do we install new software? Motivation and inspiration is what gets you going, but habit is what gets you started, and habits are really what keeps you going. And our great quote from Aristotle: "We are what we repeatedly do." So excellence then is not an act, but a habit. So what will you do tomorrow? What's the new sentence you're going to say? What's the new thought you're going to have? The new action you're going to take? And more importantly, who are you going to be? And how do we go about installing that? So a little bit more on habits and the science behind them. When NASA was early on in their mission to Mars, mission to the moon, studies on astronauts, they did a great exercise where they would give them these goggles that will essentially flip their world, their vision upside down, right? So the way that the retina works, or our eyeballs, when an image comes in, it's actually reflected. It actually appears upside down on our visual cortex, and our brain takes that information and constructs an image of things right side up. So it's really just inverting the way that light is coming in to the eyeball and how it shows up on the back of the cortex. And what they found, there's a few really unintended consequences that came out of it, was that on average it took about 21 days for the image or their vision to be turned right side up again. And but what they also discovered was that at any point during that average of 21 days, for some it was a little bit longer, some a little bit less, but if the astronauts took the goggles off at any time, even for 5 minutes during that 21-day period, it would start the clock over again. So this is where some of the earliest research and science came out on habits, the actual neural and brain science around it and how this happens. So this 21-day period, timeline, this isn't to say that, hey, it's going to take you, 21 days to actually change, but we do know that it takes a little bit of time to install software, to overcome the old habits. And it's another reminder that if you're going to change something, if you're working on a new habit, you have to stay the course. It's not, do a little bit, take a step back, do a little bit more, take a step back, because essentially we're starting the clock over. So this has to be a full-on commitment that, let's say if it's a diet, for instance, knowing that even just cheating a little bit, maybe cheating on the diet one meal or one day, it's going to make it even harder to make this not just a diet you do one time and then go back to your old ways, but if you're looking to make a lifestyle change, this is one of the reasons why this can be so difficult. You're actually resetting the clock if you're in any way disrupting this metaphorical 21-day period. And so, your stuckness, your challenges with change does make sense when you look at the science behind it. And this is another classic tool that I always love to bring up in this conversation of how to make change easy, what makes it hard for some, easy for others. And it comes out of an article that was written in early 2000, called Change or Die. And it was about coronary bypass patients who had heart surgery. And what they found was when they looked at the data of these people and they were told, you have to make a significant change in one of three areas, stress management, diet, and exercise. Just not even a significant, a moderate change in one of the three areas, less than 10% actually changed, even when faced with death, because they were told, hey, look, if you don't, change your habits, change something, one of these main areas of your lifestyle, odds are you will pass away within 5 years. And this is shocking when you think about it. Less than 10% of people, when given this option, would actually make the change. And so the article actually talks about one doctor, very famous doctor in this science and research around changing habits, was Dean Ornish. He actually had an almost 8-fold increase in his success with his patients. And what he did was, The first thing was he set them up with massive support. So he actually had them sign a contract, essentially, that was 1 year, and they were going to go 2 times a week. It was group work. They're working with other people, people within this group that are making changes. And he also set them up with individual coaching, so a dietitian, a life coach. And so we've always loved this article because it reinforces the need for coaching, because it only enhances your success, right? It's very important. And the other big thing was the moderate change wasn't about making an incremental change, so taking baby steps towards something. He had them make a massive, radical change in all 3 areas. So what does that mean? There's this notion that, and even is still supported by a lot of professionals, that incremental approach to change is more effective than a massive radical approach. 1 step at a time, build some momentum, do one small action. But when we really look at the research, that's not really the case. Now, there's some very rare exceptions to this. For instance, I wouldn't tell someone who's been on antidepressants for some time to just go cold turkey. There's some very bad consequences that can come with that. But for the most part, for something like changing a diet or exercising or some kind of lifestyle change, massive radical change has been shown to be far more effective. And our tool for this, which I referenced last time, is the 15 Twinkies. And the metaphor is, let's say I've been eating 15 Twinkies a day for, some period of time, and I'm going to eliminate 1 Twinkie a day, for whatever time period, whether it's each week, each day. So the first day, I'm down to 14 Twinkies. What's likely happening to me psychologically, emotionally? What's the difficulty, do you think, of eliminating the 1 Twinkie? Remember, I've been used to eating 15 Twinkies for a long time. What's the kind of stress or emotional state do you think I'm going through?
Why?
Yeah. Do you think I'm, proud of the fact that I've eliminated 1 Twinkie, or am I really craving that one that I don't get to have? Thinking about the one that I don't get to have.
I think it depends on how you look at it.
It does, which will...
They could celebrate that they're down to 1 Twinkie and be fine.
Yeah, so you could argue and say, hey, that first week or first day, I'm feeling good, right? I'm doing it. I'm in motion. I'm on my plan. Now, second week, I'm down to 13 Twinkies. Is it getting easier, the same, or harder? Easier, the same, or harder?
Harder.
We've got one harder. Yeah, most likely it's going to be not double the amount of angst over the second Twinkie. It's, 5 times, 10 times maybe. Third week, I'm down to, 13 Twinkies. Easier, same, or harder? And really think about this. You're 3 weeks in, and you're still having 13 Twinkies. What's the level of results do you think that you're having? Small, medium, large?
Small.
Yeah, small.
Still have 13 Twinkies.
What's that doing to your motivation? Do you think I'm getting more motivated? Or I'm like, I don't know about this, man. I'm 3 weeks into this thing and I'm not even seeing much. What the heck's going on here? So you see where I'm going with this. What was that, Colette?
It's not much motivation because it's incremental.
Yeah.
But I think that you still, it's all how you look at it as far as, and you could celebrate the fact that you're down 3 Twinkies by this point.
It's a great point.
Your incremental progress, but it's not going to be that motivating because you're not going to feel a difference or see a difference in how you feel.
Correct. And this is where we see, for most, again, because most wouldn't acknowledge that, hey, I just have to celebrate and associate to the fact that I've eliminated the 3 Twinkies. You could do that. That'll certainly make an impact. But for most, it's, man, this is so hard. I don't know if I can do this. And I have a nightmare. This is so hard. I just want my 3 extra Twinkies. Versus, now let's look at a different scenario. I'm going to eliminate all 15 Twinkies on day 1. What's my level of emotional, mental, physical stress? Small, medium, large. It's high, right? I've been used to 15 Twinkies for, now they're all gone. Yeah, this is hard, man. But man, I'm doing this. I'm on my plan. I'm going to make this happen. Second week. Does the stress levels decrease, stay the same, increase? They may be about the same. We could even argue it may be a little bit harder, similar to I'm only 2 Twinkies down now. But what kind of results are you seeing at this point? You've eliminated all 15. You're seeing more results than only eliminating 2, right? So there's some motivation, right? You're getting some momentum. Okay, I can do this. Yeah, it's a little hard, but I got this. Now, you're 3 weeks in, you go to a holiday party and they're serving fried Twinkies. Oh my God. It's my favorite. What do I do? And let's say you have an old sophomore moment. You give in. You're like, man, I've been doing great. What's one, right? What's one? So you have the first Twinkie. What's happening? What's that moment like? You sink your teeth into that first fried Twinkie. It's bliss, right? It's an orgasm in the mouth. Oh my God, this is so good. And let's say... Sugar. Yeah. Maybe you get a second one down. Now that because you're 3 weeks in, you haven't had that sugar load in quite some time now. What's that now introduction of that amount of sugar going to do?
Your body's not going to feel so good after a while.
Yeah, it's going to reject it. It's like, what the heck? I'm not used to this, man. We haven't had sugar like this in 3 weeks. So it starts to, it's going to taste bad, right? And you're like, I don't even know if I can finish this third Twinkie. So you're driving home. You're thinking, man, I was doing so good. I was on my diet. I was on my plan. I caved in. Man, so you get home, beating yourself up a little bit. You step on the scale. Small, medium, or large impact by the 2.5 Twinkies. Minimal, right? Minimal.
Yeah,
So you get re-inspired, re-motivated. You're like, okay, that wasn't so bad. I'm back on the plan now. You reclaim that motivation. So this is a metaphor why massive radical approach becomes more effective, not only physiological, but psychological, emotional. And it's another way to think. I mean, if if you've tried the incremental approach and you've been challenged by it, well, what difference would it make to take a massive radical approach? What would that even look like? What would you do? Something to ponder. Now, so again, we're talking about the challenges with embracing change. So, massive support system, some coaching, going massive radical, not baby steps, not tiptoeing in. And as we're talking about installing new software, installing new habits, change really only happens in two ways. The first is intensity. So this could be, let's say, fired from a job, or, you get pregnant. The person that smoked for years, all of a sudden, they get the pregnancy test back. It's positive. They're going to have a baby. They have another human life to care for. Boom. All of a sudden, they're no longer smokers. It could be a medical diagnosis, right? These very intense moments that happen that change things forever for us. So that's intensity. And the other way is repetition. So repetition being the mother of all learning. We do it over and over again, just like grooves in a record. You've been repeating something. There's been a groove formed over years, and by law, you're always repeating something. Is it new you or old you? What are those habitual sentences that run? What's the language? Because it's always going to reveal the software that's running. So not only is this, how do I intensely, and if it's not something that happens, how do you prime this to happen for you? Can you put excitement into your body? Can you put I have a dream speech? I have a dream that my body is, and food is fuel. It's not emotion, and I love healthy foods, and I feel better when I eat amazingly. I don't need Twinkies. How do you prime great emotions versus I have a nightmare, I can't do this? And is that the habitual sentences that run? We're always repeating something. So repetition and intensity being the only two ways that we form new habits. And this isn't all that, this literature, this research is out there. You're a smart person. You've tried things in the past, and why haven't other tools or processes or programs, worked? Well, most will blame themselves. It's something wrong with them. I can't do this. See, look, I knew it matches my history. Here and here, I've tried this in the past, and it didn't work. There's something wrong. I get it works for other people, but not me. But that's not the case, because there's a deeper software issue at play. And one of the common things is what we call the old song on the radio. So you're saying new sentences, you're installing new software, you're taking new actions, and then all of a sudden you're at a Christmas party and they're serving fried Twinkies, and you have an old moment, an old habit moment. Well, just like a song can trigger old memories, old emotions, whether it's a song you had your first breakup to, immediately it's the metallic taste in your mouth, sick to your stomach, triggers that old memory. Or the song you had your first kiss to, it's butterflies and you can smell their perfume. Just like songs can trigger memories, old songs or old triggers opens up old software. And this is where there's a lot of forgiveness built into the system. This is not about perfection, and you just have to be new you perfectly all the time, because we're not, as I said, we're not deleting or installing old software. It's always going to be there. It's always, it can be triggered by anything really that reminds you of old software, whether it's, you're driving to work and you see a tree on the side of the road that reminds you of the tree that scratched your window, your bedroom window when you were a child, and, it creates this fearful memory for you. And all of a sudden you're walking in your business meeting with an anxiety, and you know what the heck happened? Yeah. Old software can open up from time to time. The question is, are you conscious of it? Can you catch it? And what's the only way to get a song out of your head? A song that's stuck in your head?
Replace it with a new one.
Yeah, you put a new song on the radio. New songs, relaunches, new software. So if you notice, I have a nightmare moment. I don't know if I can do this. This is scary. I don't know if I have the capability. I don't believe. Versus, man, I have a dream. I just want this thing so much. I want what I want, and I want to ride the two-wheeler. And you put the new song back on. You play the new habitual sentences with lots of intensity, over and over again, repetition, until you're back in new software. And where we commonly see this happen with the old song on the radio is in the 10 moment. And what that means is, when you think of 90% of life as flow and easy, things are going well, the world is being kind to you, and it's really only in the 10% of life where it's hard and challenging, we're being tested, right? We're having a bad day, is where we'll stick to what we know. We'll revert back to old software, because it worked for old me. I know what I get. It's predictable, right? We're back to meanings and predictions. I know what I get with this old software. This new software, I don't know. It's out of my comfort zone. It's unpredictable. So I'm just going to go with what I know here. It's in the 10 moments we see most people revert back to old. But it's the very moment where you have to be new. We don't grow in the 90. We only grow in the 10. 90s for, it'll continue to reinforce, and it's easy to repeat old or new software. But in the 10 is where we have all the lessons, all the growth, all the opportunities, because that's where the new software is going to have its stress tests, and you're going to see it's going to work or it's going to fail, and I have to make another upgrade. I have to make a modification, right? So knowing that and being aware of what your in the 10 moments are, and it's going to appear in many different ways. It's a conversation with a spouse. It's, a business meeting. It's a phone call. Whatever your in the 10 moments are for you, playing the new song, and you could prime this. When I said with intensity, how do you prime new software? You put an I have a dream speech, going into a business meeting, doing a haka dance for some of the OGs here. I played the video of the haka, the New Zealand All Blacks rugby team. They do the traditional, their haka routine where they're dancing, and they believe that it, wards off evil spirits, and it's just part of their tradition. And you watch it, it gives you goosebumps. It's engaging a different emotional matrix to where they get excited, they get jacked up, man. They're terrifying their opponents. You know, you run a haka going into you're in the 10 moments. I'm the woman, I'm the man to make this happen. Yeah, that's where new software really gets installed. That's where these old habits get changed. So, again, wiring over, creating new grooves in the record, you know, sticking with it all 21 days, even in the 10 moments, putting a great support system, having a great coach, going massive radical, all these great tools we have for making change easy, not hard, and making it instantaneous. You know, it's not a process. It only feels like a process because we have old songs on the radio and we bounce back and forth. But your consciousness, catching the old sentences, catching the old software in its tracks, turning the bus around, getting the bus headed back in the right direction, that's where this becomes easy. It becomes flow. It becomes this changing of habits becomes effective for you.